made them a free, independent nation. Was this country based on Protestant principles? You have that two-horned beast, two horns like a lamb, right? In Revelation 13, the principle of separation of church and state. That's what we were founded upon. So the government can't tell you how to worship. But it says, they do not see that if the Protestant government sacrifices the principles that have made them a free, independent nation, and through legislation bring into the Constitution principles that will propagate papal falsehood and papal delusion, they are plunging into the Roman horrors of the Dark Ages. What happened in the Dark Ages? Persecution, right? It was the church that persecuted people. And what did it say? That if you don't keep this, you're going to be called a heretic and subject to persecution? You think history repeats itself? You can look at this book and go through chapter by chapter and see from the beginning of the book to the end that history repeats itself. You can go through the history books and see that history repeats itself. There are many, even those engaged in this movement for Sunday enforcement, who are blinded to the results which will follow this action. They do not see that they are striking directly against religious liberty. They don't know that they're affecting the religious liberty that we all enjoy right now at this point. We all are free to come to church, aren't we, right now? But there's going to come a time when that's not going to be the case. There are many who have never understood the claims of the Bible Sabbath and the false foundations upon which the Sunday institution rests. Those who are making an effort to change the Constitution and secure a law enforcing Sunday observance little realize what will be the result. A crisis is just upon us. The United States will pass a Sunday law. When our nation shall so abjure the principles of its government as to enact a Sunday law, Protestantism will in this act join hands with popery. Protestants will throw their whole influence and strength on the side of the papacy. And why would they do that? Because they observe the Sunday, right? They observe it, so they're going to full strength support this day of worship. By a national act enforcing the false Sabbath, they will give life and vigor to the corrupt faith of Rome. And I say it's a corrupt faith of Rome because no man can change God's law. You can think you can do it, and have they succeeded to this point in convincing the majority of the world to follow them? Have they succeeded? Reviving her tyranny and oppression of conscience. Sooner or later, Sunday laws will be passed. Soon, the Sunday laws will be enforced, and men in positions of trust will be embittered against the little handful of God's commandment-keeping people. There's a remnant that exists. The prophecy of Revelation 13 declares that the power represented by the beast with lamb-like horns, the United States, shall cause the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the papacy. They're symbolized by the beast, like unto the leopard in Revelation 13. That's talking. So this lamb-like beast represents the United States. If you didn't realize, the United States is talked about in Revelation 13, right there, the lamb-like beast. United States of America. And this first beast that it's talking about is the papacy. The prophecy will be fulfilled when the United States shall enforce Sunday observance, which Rome claims as a special acknowledgement of her supremacy. Political corruption is destroying love and justice in regard to truth, and even in a free America, rules and legislators, in order to secure political favor, because we want to remain popular, will yield to the popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance. Because you see it happening even today, right? Right before the election, you hear all these promises, promise after promise after promise. I'm going to do this. But as soon as they get into office, boy, they change, don't they? They tell the people what they want them to hear in order to get the votes that they want to get into office. But once they get there, the scenario changes. Satan puts his interpretation upon events, and they think, as he would have them, that the calamities which will fill the land are a result of Sunday breaking. Thinking to appease the wrath of God, these influential men make laws enforcing Sunday observance. So there's going to be some calamities come into play here, and they're going to say, because you guys are breaking Sunday, the Sunday laws, you're bringing these calamities upon our nation. This very class put forth the claim that the fast-spreading corruption is largely attributed to the desecration of the so-called Christian Sabbath, and that the enforcement of Sunday observance would greatly improve the moral of society. We have a moral law already. It's the Ten Commandments. And the Sabbath is part of that, not Sunday. This claim is especially urged in America, where the doctrine of the true Sabbath has been most widely preached. That's why in Revelation 13, you see the United States mentioned there in this lamb-like beast. Protestantism shall give a hand of fellowship to the Roman power. Then there will be a law against the Sabbath of God's creation. And then it is that God will do his strange work in the earth. So it's not only about the Sunday law that's going to be enforced, it's a law that's going to say you can't worship on Saturday. Psalm 119, 126. It is time for thee, Lord, to work, for they have made void thy law. We're getting close to the end. I know it's kind of long and drawn out, but this is very important stuff. How the Roman Church can clear herself from the charge of idolatry we cannot see, because people see that they removed that second commandment. And this is the religion which Protestants are beginning to look upon with so much favor, and will eventually be united with Protestantism. This union will not, however, be effective by a change in Catholicism, for Rome never changes. She claims infallibility. It is Protestantism that will change. Remember how I said Constantine wasn't going to change the traditions of Sunday worship? Protestantism is the one that's going to change. The adoption of the liberal ideas on its part will bring it where it can clasp the hand of Catholicism. The professed Protestant world will form a confederacy with the man of sin, and the church and the world will be in corrupt harmony together. And the whole world wondered after the beast. The whole world is about to wonder after the Roman dictates, because they all keep Sunday. When the leading churches of the United States unite upon such points of doctrine as are held by them in common, shall influence the state to enforce the decrees and to sustain their institutions, then Protestant America will have formed an image of the Roman hierarchy, and the infliction of civil penalties upon dissenters will inevitably result. The enforcement of Sunday keeping on the part of Protestant churches is an enforcement of the worship of the papacy. In the very act of enforcing a religious duty by secular power, the churches would themselves form an image to the beast. Hence, the enforcement of Sunday keeping in the United States will be an enforcement of worship of the beast and his image. Read Revelation 13 on your own as homework. When Protestantism shall stretch her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power, when she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hands with spiritualism, when under the influence of this threefold union, our country shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as a Roman and Republican government, and shall make provisions for the propagation of papal falsehoods and delusions, then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan, and that the end is near. It's already been in the news that the Pope wants to have this universal day of worship, and that universal day is not the Sabbath, it's Sunday. I talked about the blue laws. Supporters of the blue laws believe that Sunday were to be spent worshiping God. These laws have been on the book for decades. Blue laws are laws that prohibit certain types of activities on Sundays. They're on the books right now. They just have to bring them back out in the open. While these laws have existed throughout American history, most people associate them with the late 1800s and early 1900s. But I think soon we're going to start associating them with the centuries that we're living in. When the progressives were a powerful group seeking to reform the United States socially, politically, and economically. Supporters of blue laws believe that Sundays were to be spent worshiping God. Activities that tend to keep people from attending church had to be prevented. To try to inhibit these activities from occurring, many communities implemented blue laws. One of the most common blue laws prohibited businesses from opening on Sundays. Another blue law made the sales of alcohol on Sundays illegal. Remember that? Some communities even outlawed professional sports on Sundays. Wow, that would be a big hit. Fearing that these sports drew people away from the church and promoted people to engage in sinful activities, such as gambling and drinking. Individual states and communities implemented these laws throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s. And it says that the state of Ohio implemented several blue laws, including the prohibited sale of alcohol on Sundays, so on and so forth. It's going to get worse. To secure popularity and patronage, legislators will yield to the demand of the Sunday laws. By the decree of enforcing the institution of the papacy in violation of the law of God, our nation will disconnect herself from righteousness. I'm going to skip on. We ought to obey God rather than men. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Amen.
So when laws are starting to be enforced that are contrary to this book, we need to obey God. When the state shall use its power to enforce the decrees and sustain institutions of the church, then will Protestant America have formed the image of the papacy, and there will be a national apostasy, which will end only in national ruin. We're going to be in trouble. The substitution of the laws of men for the law of God, the exaltation by merely human authority of Sunday in place of the Bible Sabbath, is the last act of drama. When the substitution becomes universal, God will reveal himself and will arise in his majesty to shake terribly the earth. Are you ready? One of the last slides. The prophet saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor any tree. Another angel ascending from the east cried to them, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. This points out the work we now have to do, which is to cry to God for the angel to hold back these winds until our missionaries shall be sent to all corners of the world and proclaim the warning against disobeying the law of Jehovah. Time is running out. Time is running out. We can't lose track of our mission because time is running out. Our closing song, don't forget the Sabbath.